We will start with some history of the young girl's life, because she is a saint, and the Eucharistic miracle, when she was only 5 years old, can then be readily believed. There is a cave named after Anchorite Inés Pedros, now known as Saint Inés de Moncada. She was born on June 23, 1388. Little is known about her life. She experienced her first contact with the divine when she was just 5 years old during Mass. It is said in the writings that Inés de Moncada was supposed to get married against her wishes, but ran away from home dressed as a man and entered the Porta Coeli monastery. She worked for the monks, but once the secret of her true gender was discovered, she was expelled from the monastery, but allowed to live in a nearby cave to take care of her flocks and dedicate her life to prayer. The cave was not a good choice for shelter, so she decided to go to another cave, where she spent the next 20 years of her life. The cave is very small, with an opening of 6.5 feet wide by 4 feet tall, opening to a room about 16 feet by 16 feet. On June 24, 1428, fire-like flames of light were seen around the cave where the woman spent her life, and when shepherds went to the mountains the next day, they found Inés dead with a nimbus of light around her head. A sweet fragrance was filling the air. It is widely accepted that she had died the day before, on June 24th, the day the lights were first seen. The cavity today is a sanctuary and is visited by monks and other believers. It contains inside a memorial with all kinds of objects. So to begin our miracle story, the election of Pope Urban VI on August 18, 1378, had been strongly opposed by the French cardinals, who hoped that a French pope would transfer the Holy See back to Avignon, France. After many votes, on September 20th, 1378, they elected the anti-pope, Clement VII. The schismatics immediately tried to seize Rome, but their attempts failed. Therefore, they retreated back to Avignon, France, where Clement VII continued to act as the legitimate pontiff. During this period of great uncertainties, Father Carlos, a priest in Moncada, was living in the anguish that his ordination was invalid. Every time he celebrated Mass, he greatly feared that he was deceiving the faithful by distributing unconsecrated hosts. He was also terrified that none of the other sacraments that he was performing were actually valid. The priest ardently prayed for the Lord to give him some kind of sign of confirmation. He received an answer on Christmas Day in 1392. That day, the aristocratic woman named Lady Angelica Alpicat attended Mass with her 5-year-old daughter Inés, the future Saint Inés of Moncada. At the end of Mass, the little girl refused to leave the church, imploring her mother to let her remain there to play with the beautiful child the pastor had held in his arms during Mass. The next day, on December 26, Lady Angelica Alpicat went to Mass again, and when the priest lifted the host, the little girl saw the child in the hands of the priest. At the end of Mass, Lady Angelica asked the priest about her daughter's visions, and Father Carlos immediately questioned her. Little Inés answered all the priest's questions without any difficulties. The priest, though, wanted to test her further and invited her to attend Mass on the following day. The next day, likely before Mass, but it is not well defined, Father Carlos took 2 hosts, but only one of them was consecrated. Then, taking the consecrated host first, the priest asked the little girl what she saw in his hand. She answered, "I see baby Jesus." Then he showed her the unconsecrated host and asked the same question. "I see a white little disc," Inés answered. The priest was overwhelmed with joy, and the whole congregation exulted in seeing the validity of their pastor's ordination confirmed. Although an anti-pope had ordained the bishop, who ordained Moncada's pastor, Father Carlos, God had remained faithful to the apostolic succession determined by the imposition of the bishop's hands. Father Odorico Rinaldi described the fact in his Annals Ecclesiastos, except that it is not in English. It is also narrated in other documents kept in the archives of the city of Moncada, Spain.